Every 11 seconds, someone over the age of 65 in the United States is hospitalized because of a fall. That number might sound distant, until one morning, it's your legs that hesitate. The stairs look steeper, the ground feels uneven, and suddenly the freedom to walk, shop, garden, or dance feels a little farther away. But that doesn't have to be your story. Let me tell you about George, a 77-year-old grandfather from Minnesota. 3 months ago, he could barely lift himself off the couch without help. Today, he walks his granddaughter to school every morning. In this video, we'll explore 4 simple, nourishing foods, humble ingredients you may already have in your kitchen that can help rebuild muscle, restore balance, and reconnect your nerves to your confidence. These aren't fads. They're backed by real science and used in real clinics around the world. And before we begin, leave a comment below. How old are you and where are you watching from? We'd love to hear from you. Segment 1, Muscle Foundation, Chickpeas. When we reach our 50s and 60s, and certainly into our 70s and beyond, our bodies start to whisper quiet changes. Tasks that once felt effortless now take just a bit more time, and often it begins in our legs. There's a name for this process. It's called sarcopenia, the gradual loss of muscle mass as we age. But don't let the word intimidate you. Sarcopenia isn't a disease, it's a natural process, but one that we can absolutely slow down and in some cases even reverse through small, meaningful changes in our daily habits. And one of the simplest places to begin, with a food that's been part of human diets for thousands of years, the chickpea, also known as the garbanzo bean. Chickpeas are round beige-colored legumes that many of our grandmothers probably used in stews or salads. They don't come with flashy labels or fancy marketing, but don't let their simplicity fool you. Chickpeas are rich in plant-based protein, the very building blocks our muscles crave to stay strong and resilient. And for older adults, especially those who may not eat much meat or dairy, chickpeas offer an accessible, affordable source of protein that supports the legs, arms, and core muscles we rely on every single day. But protein is just the beginning. Chickpeas are also packed with vitamin B6, a lesser-known nutrient that acts like a bridge between your nervous system and your muscles. It helps your brain send clean, steady signals to the parts of your body that need to move, whether it's to catch your balance or lift yourself from a chair. And when B6 teams up with minerals like magnesium and iron, also found in chickpeas, it helps reduce that heavy leg feeling many of us experience, especially in the mornings or after sitting too long. A study from the University of Murcia in 2019 followed a group of adults over 65 who ate chickpeas 3 times a week. After just 2 months, they showed 22% less muscle loss than the group that didn't. Now, 22% might not sound like a lot, but in the real world that could mean walking to the mailbox without assistance or standing up from the toilet without needing help. Let me introduce you to Jose, a 74-year-old from San Antonio. After a minor fall while reaching for a spice jar in his kitchen, he came to my clinic feeling discouraged. His legs shook when he stood, and he'd started avoiding the stairs in his own home. Together, we made one simple dietary change. We added chickpeas to his meals 3 times a week. We didn't overhaul his lifestyle. We didn't put him on an extreme workout plan. He just added chickpeas. He stirred them into stews, tossed them with red onions and parsley into salads, added a scoop to his rice and chicken. And by the 5th week, something changed. He stood taller. His knees felt steadier. And for the first time in months, he walked around his neighborhood, not just to the mailbox, but all the way to the park and back. Now you may be wondering, how much do I need? Start with half a cup of cooked chickpeas, about 125 grams. 2 or 3 times a week is a great starting point. You can use canned chickpeas, just rinse them well, or buy dried ones and soak them overnight. Here's a little trick. When soaking dried chickpeas, add a pinch of baking soda. This helps break down something called phytic acid, making the iron more absorbable and easier on your stomach. Especially if you've ever felt bloated or tired after eating beans, this one step can make a world of difference. For those who like variety, chickpeas can be roasted with olive oil and herbs for a crispy snack, blended into hummus for a smooth dip, or simmered into soups with carrots. Turmeric and black pepper for a nourishing bowl of comfort. Every time you scoop chickpeas into your bowl, think of it as a quiet investment, not just in your next meal, but in your legs, your balance, and your ability to move through life with more ease. Next, let's talk about a crunchy little seed that might just be your best defense against nighttime leg cramps. Segment 2, Cramp and Coordination. Pumpkin seeds. Let's talk about something many of us rarely mention out loud, those sudden nighttime leg cramps. That sharp tightening sensation that jolts you awake around 3 in the morning, leaving you rubbing your calf or flexing your foot under the blanket. It's more common than you might think. And while it may feel like just another part of aging, there are gentle natural ways to ease these cramps and sleep more peacefully. One of the best I've found over the years, pumpkin seeds. Tiny green and full of quiet strength, pumpkin seeds, also called pepitas, are one of nature's richest sources of magnesium, a mineral that helps your muscles relax after a long day. If magnesium were a person, you could think of it as a calm, steady coach, the one that tells your nerves and muscles to breathe, to loosen, and to let go. As we get older, many of us unknowingly develop mild magnesium deficiencies. It doesn't always show up in a blood test, but it shows up in other ways, like muscle twitches, restless legs, persistent fatigue after a short walk, or that heavy dragging feeling in your thighs. But here's the good news. Just a small handful of pumpkin seeds can begin restoring that balance. Pumpkin seeds are also rich in zinc, healthy fats, and antioxidants, all of which help soothe inflammation in the joints and keep your knees, ankles, and feet moving with more comfort. And because they're naturally low in sugar and high in fiber, they won't spike your blood sugar or leave you feeling bloated like many store-bought snacks. Let me tell you about Carmen, a lovely 68-year-old from Arizona. She had been dealing with intense leg cramps for years, the kind that disrupted her sleep and left her dreading bedtime. She'd tried warm baths, stretching, even sleeping with a pillow between her legs. Nothing worked long-term. When she came to me, we didn't talk about medications. We talked about timing and magnesium. I suggested she start eating about 30 grams. That's 2 tablespoons of unsalted roasted pumpkin seeds each afternoon, between 3 hours and 5 hours p.m. to give her body time to absorb the minerals before bed. She was skeptical at first, but willing to try. 3 weeks later, Carmen called me with tears in her voice. For the first time in years, she'd had an entire week of uninterrupted sleep. Her legs felt calmer, her mornings were brighter, and she even started joining her walking group again, something she'd stopped out of fear. Of fatigue, pumpkin seeds don't promise miracles, but they do offer steady, supportive nourishment, the kind our bodies understand and appreciate. If you're ready to try them, look for raw or dry roasted unsalted pumpkin seeds. Avoid the heavily salted or flavored varieties. They often come with additives that can cancel out the benefits. You can sprinkle them on top of oatmeal, mix them into cooked veggies, or simply enjoy them as a snack with a warm cup of herbal tea. Here's a tip I often share with my clients: create a calm snack ritual around pumpkin seeds. Sit in your favorite chair, maybe near a window or in your garden, and take a moment to really chew and enjoy the texture. This not only helps digestion, but creates a sense of mindful nourishment, which has its own healing power. And remember, the timing late afternoon or early evening is ideal. This helps your nervous system relax and reduces those late-night cramps and stiffness. It's amazing how something so small can make such a big difference. Pumpkin seeds aren't just food. They're a signal to your body, a whisper that says, you're supported, you can rest. Now that we've addressed cramps and muscle recovery, let's move deeper into the body, to the bones and joints that carry us every step of the way. And for that, we look to the sea. Segment 3, Bone and Joint Support. Seaweed. There's a quiet moment many of us share that instant, when we rise from a chair and hear a pop in the knees, or when we climb stairs and feel a bit of grinding in the hips. It's not always painful, but it's enough to remind us our joints are asking for care. The bones that carried us through decades of work, parenting, gardening, dancing, they begin to need a little help. And while calcium pills line the pharmacy shelves, nature offers us a gentler, more nourishing path, one that flows from the ocean: seaweed. Yes, seaweed. That light leafy plant often seen floating in the sea or wrapped around sushi rolls. It might not look like much, but in many traditional cultures, especially in Japan and coastal communities, seaweed has long been revered as a source of longevity and vitality. What makes seaweed so special? First, it's one of the most bioavailable sources of calcium, meaning your body can absorb it more easily than from most dairy or supplements. But calcium isn't working alone. Seaweed also contains iodine, which supports your thyroid, a gland that quietly affects your energy, metabolism, and bone turnover. And perhaps most importantly, it contains fucoidin and laminarin, natural compounds with strong anti-inflammatory properties. These compounds support the production of synovial fluid, that smooth cushioning liquid that keeps our joints moving without friction. And as we age, maintaining this fluid is key to avoiding that stiff, rusty feeling in the knees or hips. A 2021 study in the American Journal of Community Nutrition followed women over 60 who added seaweed to their diet 2 to 3 times per week. After 12 weeks, their bone density had increased by up to 16% compared to the control group. That's not just a statistic, that's fewer fractures, steadier balance, and more freedom to move confidently through life. Let me tell you about Maria. A 70-year-old former yoga teacher from Oregon arthritis had slowly pushed her out of her daily practice. She missed the stretches, the breath, the peace of movement. When she came to me, she wasn't looking to cure anything. She just wanted to feel more fluid again. Together, we introduced a simple habit: warm bowls of miso soup with wakame seaweed 2 or 3 times a week. She also added seaweed flakes to her salads and used nori sheets to wrap her rice and grilled vegetables. At first, it felt like a small change, but 2 months later, something beautiful happened. Her stiffness eased. She began doing gentle stretches again. And by the 3rd month, she returned to teaching 1 beginner class a week, a class she now calls yoga for the 2nd spring of life. So, how can you enjoy seaweed at home? There are several types to look for. Wakame, best for soups, soft and mild. Kombu, used in broths, very rich in minerals. Sea lettuce, tender, bright green, great in salads. Nori, thin, crisp sheets, often used in sushi. If you're new to seaweed, start gently. Add a small sheet of nori to a rice bowl. Sprinkle seaweed flakes into a salad or omelet. Simmer a few pieces of kombu into a soup broth for a boost of minerals. Here's one of my favorite little kitchen tricks when making seaweed. Broth, add a few thin slices of ginger and a drop of sesame oil. It warms. The digestion improves nutrient absorption, especially for those with sensitive stomachs, and adds a soothing aromatic depth to the meal. You don't need to eat seaweed daily. Just 2 to 3 times a week is enough to begin supporting your bones, easing joint tension, and improving your overall sense of motion and balance. So, when you hear your knees creak or your hips complain, don't rush to chalk it up to age. Instead, ask yourself, what can I offer my joints today that speaks to them with care? Now we've talked about muscles, cramps, and joints. But there's one more piece of the puzzle: the nerves that connect our brain to our legs and feet. And for that, we turn to a creamy fruit that brings connection back to every step. Segment 4. Nerve health and balance. Avocados. Have you ever stepped onto the ground and felt disconnected, like your foot touched the floor, but the signal took a moment to reach your brain? Maybe it was a slight tingling in your toes, a subtle numbness in your calves, or a strange sensation that your legs were moving, but your body didn't quite feel it. These are gentle whispers from the peripheral nervous system, the web of tiny highways that sends messages from your brain to your limbs and back again. And as we age, especially if our diet lacks certain nutrients, those highways can begin to fray. But there's a fruit, smooth, soft, and quietly powerful, that helps repair those delicate nerve connections. It's not exotic. In fact, you might have one in your kitchen right now. It's the avocado. Avocados are rich in monounsaturated fats, especially a compound called oleic acid, which helps strengthen the outer layer of nerve cells. Think of it like putting a protective cover around your electrical wires. It keeps the signals clean and fast. These healthy fats also support the production of myelin, a substance that insulates nerves and improves communication between the brain's spinal cord and limbs. The more efficient this connection, the better your balance, coordination, and sense of groundedness when you walk. But the benefits don't stop there. Avocados are packed with potassium, a mineral that helps regulate muscle contractions and fluid balance. If you've ever had sudden spasms or felt wobbly while climbing stairs, It might be your potassium levels asking for support. And to top it off, avocados provide vitamin E, a gentle antioxidant that protects nerve endings from age-related wear and tear. There's a powerful study from 2021 by the American Institute of Nutrition and Geriatrics. Researchers followed older adults who included avocado in their breakfast at least 4 times per week. After 6 weeks, participants showed improvements in posture balance and something called lower limb steadiness, how firm and responsive your legs feel when you move. One of those participants was Miguel, a 79-year-old retired schoolteacher from Santa Fe. He came to our clinic because he had started feeling unsafe, walking through his neighborhood park. His feet were going numb, and he feared tripping over a crack in the sidewalk. Miguel didn't want pills. He just wanted to feel his steps again. We started simple. Each morning, he swapped his sugary cereal for a slice of whole grain toast, topped with mashed avocado, a few chia seeds, and a squeeze of lemon juice. It was creamy tangy. Easy to make, and 4 weeks later, Miguel returned smiling. "I can feel the ground again," he said. And more importantly, I can feel my grandson's footsteps beside mine. You don't need to eat a whole avocado every day, just a third to half of fruit 3 to 4 times a week is enough, and it's wonderfully versatile. You can spread it on toast with a pinch of salt and olive oil, dice it into a quinoa or bean salad, blend it into a smoothie with banana and almond milk, add slices to wraps with greens and grilled vegetables. Here's a small tip that makes a big difference: top your mashed avocado with a few crushed walnuts or flax seeds. Not only does it add a delightful crunch, but it also boosts your omega-3 intake further, supporting nerve health and reducing inflammation. And remember, eat it slowly. Let the fats do their work. Let your body receive the message: we're reconnecting, we're rebuilding. Avocados aren't flashy, but neither are nerves. They work quietly behind the scenes, helping us feel the world under our feet. Now that we've explored these 4 foods, chickpeas for muscles, pumpkin seeds for cramps, seaweed for joints, and avocado for nerve support, let's tie it all together. Let's pause for a moment and take it in just 4 simple foods: chickpeas, pumpkin seeds, seaweed, and avocado. These aren't expensive supplements or complicated routines. They're gentle, nourishing gifts from nature, each one supporting a different part of your body that helps you stay steady, strong, and independent. With every spoonful, handful, or slice, you're not just eating. You're investing in your legs, your balance, your nerves, and your confidence. You don't have to wait for a fall or for someone to offer their arm. You can begin now with your very next meal. If today's video gave you something valuable, please give it a like and let us know in the comments which of these foods are you most excited to try first. And don't forget to subscribe for more practical, comforting health advice that meets you exactly where you are. This is your journey to strength. Let's walk it together.